This is a matchup for the ages. Audie cuts a path straight to the paint, and she serves up a slam dunk. I hope Audie may have the win, but Frank really got the W on that play. That's gotta hurt.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Cyclone Fanatic post-game show. I'm your host, Leah Nelson. Chelsea Poppens will be joining me in the Wild Rose Casino studio in a moment. Iowa State loses a tough one to Iowa, and we'll get into it right after we thank a few of our sponsors. Our friends over at Channel Seed are with us through the good times and the bad times. They're huge fans of Iowa State through and through, so we're excited to have them on our team. And our friends over at Fairway. Great quality meat over at Fairway, so make sure you check them out. Thanks again to our friends at Channel Seed and Fairway. Chelsea, tough one. Obviously, it never feels good to lose, especially to Iowa. But what made Iowa so successful and what made them come out with a win tonight?
I think a piece of it is Iowa. I mean, obviously Iowa State came out with a bang. I was very hopeful.
Yes.
I was like, hell yeah, this is great. But I mean, Iowa played tremendous defense. Emily Ryan with as many turnovers as she did. I think it was, 10 turnovers? 9 turnovers.
Yeah.
9 turnovers. That's probably the most she's ever had. And I mean, it goes back to Iowa's defense, which is a testament to how they picked themselves up after Iowa State went on a run. But I mean, I loved how Addie Brown came out and started shooting, but she got in foul trouble. I think Audie Crooks got tired and she was kind of getting a little sloppy down in the paint with a few turnovers at the end of the game, and Iowa just took advantage of it. And Olsen had a tremendous game. She did exactly what she wanted. Iowa State didn't stick to the scouting report like we talked about and didn't shut her down. Her mid-range jumper, that is exactly what the coaches probably put on the scouting report. Is
Yep.
like, shut down the mid-range jumper, and they didn't do it. So I mean, it just goes back to what we said in the pregame is like, drill into the scouting report, do what the coaches are telling you to do and execute it. But you and I were talking about this before this is Iowa State still is a young team compared to other teams out there. Like, we have a lot of sophomores who are playing. So that's also a piece of it.
Talking about really zoning in on the scouting report. Obviously, Iowa did that straight to Emily Ryan. I mean, yes, she had 9 turnovers, but you even mentioned it while we were texting back and forth between the game. Like, Iowa's defense is just so solid. They picked apart Emily. You could tell they watched defense. You could tell what would make her uncomfortable, and that's exactly what they did to Emily. It wasn't like she was off, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, they were just playing tremendous defense. They were picking it. They were all up in her grill. I mean, they were doing a tremendous job. So testament to how they scouted Emily Ryan as the leader, the general out there on the court, executing everything.
Let's talk Audie Crooks, because obviously, yes, she did get tired, but man, did she play a great game. It seemed like no one could stop her. And what was working for Audie down low?
I mean, she had 31 points. Iowa had no answer for Audie down low. I mean, she was just doing a tremendous job. And obviously that was Iowa State's tactic, is to get it into Audie, let her go to work. That's what's working. And when everything else was kind of falling apart, that was there's a lot of times where Audie kind of saved everybody's tails by making a shot or making a fadeaway and saving everybody. So she did a great job.
So what kind of bit Iowa State in the butt tonight? Because it does seem like they kind of beat themselves. Obviously, I don't want to discredit Iowa at all, but there were a lot of things that happened that weren't going in Iowa State's favor.
I mean, you can look at the turnovers, 21 turnovers to 9 turnovers for Iowa. That's points where Iowa State just gave it away, points off for turnovers, things like that. I think there was a lot of sloppy, it was just sloppy turnovers, sloppy passes that don't need to be in there. I have Coach Finley's mind or voice in my mind. I'm like, bounce pass, bounce pass, bounce pass for some of those. And I'm like, there's just, you get in the high pressure games like that, and the score is very close, and you just want to make something happen. Or maybe coach just said, pass it into Audie down low, and you're like, pass it. Like that's the only thing playing over and over in your head. And there's like, obviously it's a sellout crowd at Carver. Right. Like there's a lot of voices. I mean, you go to Hilton and it's a sellout, like every sellout crowd, you can barely hear anything. So I think it's also speaking to the young experience of a lot of our players, the not being used to playing in that type of atmosphere and being able to like coordinate things and take the lead and find that grit. I think, I mean, I kind of rambling, but like you and I were talking about,
keep going.
You and I were talking about like this, they played like this was a good character building, grit building game, and they played pretty well against a good team. I mean, you imagine a lot of the better teams that Iowa State has played. This is one where they stepped up, but they just couldn't finish. And I mean, that's what it comes down to. I mean, there's some ticky-tack fouls, and Iowa had a little more, like they wanted it more. So that's what it came down to.
You mentioned how like intense Carver Hawkeye Arena is. I think Emily Ryan is the only person on Iowa State's team that's played in Carver Hawkeye. So obviously like that's tough when you don't know. And I think that also comes up when, in the last quarter, it's just like Hilton magic. Everyone's cheering for you or cheering against you. Like you're going to come out, you're going to show out. And so it makes sense. But what are some things that Iowa State can take from this game? Because obviously, what did you say in the pregame? Like, you got to have a mind of a goldfish.
Yeah.
Because they've got a big game coming up next week and then the week after. So what can Iowa State take from this game?
I mean, I feel like there's a fine line for memory of a goldfish. I think Coach Finley would agree. Like, you got to, like, I think he'll make them study this game. Like, this is a heart loss. Like, this is big time for us in this state. And I think he's gonna watch it with them tomorrow. He's gonna make them, stick it to memory of what went wrong and what they need to improve on, because like games like this set the tone for, conference play approaches. Or like UConn, like nobody wants to go into the game with UConn and get your like asses handed to you, you got to learn from it and you got to adjust. And if you don't adjust, it's going to be embarrassing. And so, yeah.
Were there any players tonight that kind of stepped up for Iowa State or that you were excited to see their improvement or their, participation?
I mean, I think you see flares of like Lily Hansford making her three.
Right.
Like I think like the broadcasters mentioned 1 for 21, but she was 45% from Oregon. Like there's so much potential wrapped up in it, but she has to work through that mental barrier and build that confidence back again and get to the 3-point shooter that she once was. It's just like you see like little glimpses of what she's capable of, but you haven't seen the true nature of it. So
I think it's big for her. We really need her to step up because obviously with Kenzie Hare out for the rest of the season, she's got to be big time. Let's kind of talk about Audie. Do you think her, getting 3 fouls really early on in the game kind of hurt Iowa State going forward?
Absolutely.
It just seemed like when she wasn't on the court, things seemed to be going off. She's just such a natural leader, commands the ball. I think when she was on the bench, it just kind of, you could tell the energy was different.
Yeah, I think she brings a little grit to the game. Like she makes a shot, or like if she doesn't make a shot, she gets back and she's like, you know what, I'm gonna get the next one. And I think she started getting in foul trouble when Iowa State actually had the momentum. And if she didn't get in foul trouble, I think the momentum would have kept going. But they had to take her out, and that dynamic, Audie and her are best friends off the court. They work so well on the court.
Right.
That dynamic got messed up, and then they had to find a different rhythm, find a different flow. And when you have to do that, it's just like you saw in the game, it just kind of makes it a little bit dysfunctional. And Iowa had a chance to step into that space.
It was encouraging, though, to see Iowa State still function well and keep a lead without Audie for how long was she out of the game?
I don't know. I don't got those numbers.
Maybe I think Aiden texted like, hey, how much longer until we get Audie back? But it was a long time, and obviously it's a significant loss. But again, encouraging that.
Yeah, I think coach kept her out because Iowa State was finding a flow during that time and other players were stepping up and it was working. But I mean, we're all like itching, like when is Addie going to get back in? When is Addie going to get back in? But yeah, that's just, I wish he would have gotten back in, but it's good to see other players starting to step up and hopefully they'll be able to step up more because that's exactly what's needed when conference play approaches.
Let's talk a little bit about both defenses as well. We kind of mentioned this before we started recording. Like Iowa's defense just seemed way more energetic, in their face, causing obviously turnovers. I think that we said turnovers were like 20-9. What does Iowa State need to like change? Are they just tired? Are they just getting exhausted? Is there too many subs? What are your thoughts?
I mean, I think they looked tired at the end of the game. Like there was sloppy turnovers. There was like, they just couldn't finish strong. They couldn't finish all 40 minutes. And I mean, I think that just goes back to, like we were talking about earlier, like trust in the scout, trust in the player profiles and what they have for you. Like, like Stolke is gonna drive, move your feet, things like that. Like force her left. That is the scout. Force her left. And there were so many times where she just kind of took it to the rim. And there were so many times when Olsen just did exactly what she wanted. There was 2 times where she drove to the lane, did a little spin move, finished it on the left-hand side. Stop it. Like, it's coming. She just did it. Don't let her do it twice. There's things like that where it's just like, better as an athlete. And it just takes time. It takes reps to adjust quickly. And it just goes back to the youth of our team and the youth of our players.
Yep. I was going to literally say, is it because they're so much younger or what's happening? Because we talked about that in pregame too. It's like at this level, you would think, but again, they've never played at Carver. It's a big game. It's been a tough season. Obviously, sometimes things aren't working out for them, but what do you think Coach Finley's saying in the locker room? And keep it PG.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's known for his honesty. He's going to tell them that they didn't finish strong and they didn't have enough, grit, and they didn't want it more than Iowa. They had a chance to finish the way they started and they didn't do that. Obviously, turnovers are going to be a key lesson for him, and he's gonna show them the tape tomorrow and be like, there. Why? And as an athlete, like I get PTSD because I'm like, oh, I know it's coming. I know what I did wrong. I know I should have done this, but I didn't. And I'm like, I know. It's just the point in time when it actually starts clicking and you start adjusting in real time and taking the things you do in practice to the game. It just takes time. It takes rep. It's muscle memory.
It's like a stab to the heart when you know what you did wrong and then they come over to you and you're like, da 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 da.
Oh, yeah. And then you have PTSD as an adult. You're like, yes. I know what I did wrong. I know.
I'm like, I'm so sorry. So I think what makes this game so tough is like Iowa State was in it. They had a chance. They were up by like 10 at one point. It just felt like it was in Iowa State's favor. Was there a certain part in the game that you thought was a turning point for Iowa State and Iowa?
I mean, especially when Iowa went on that 9-0 run.
Yep.
Like they found the momentum. I mean, the coaching staff for Iowa State has mentioned this time and time again. Iowa State does not do well at the end of quarters. And that's something that they need to fix. And that's something they're actively voicing and actively trying to fix. And I mean, once Iowa got that momentum, like you can't, like near the end of the game, it's hard to stop.
Right.
And when everybody's tired and like energies and anxieties are at an all-time high and somebody needs to step up, but Elmarie Ryan's being locked down and she's the court general. She's the leader of the team and she's not having her best night. Like that's where I'm like, I think somebody else needs to step up into that place. And like, yeah, you want it, like Audie's doing a tremendous job, but she's a sophomore.
Right.
And to be a sophomore and have a voice on the team and lead the team is tough because you don't have like that veteran status. So like somebody else with experience needs to step into that space and be like, hey, like like, I hate to say it, get our heads out our asses, but
you can say it. It's okay.
Yeah.
You can say it.
This isn't ESPN Plus, so I can say whatever I like.
You can cuss.
But yeah, somebody else needs to take a stab at it when Emily's having a tough night, because it can't fall on all her shoulders.
Right. 1000%. And I always like to kind of like end on some positive notes. Is there anything positive, I know there is, that we can take from this game, fans can take from this game, players can take from this game, and kind of transition into next week?
Yeah. I mean, Addie's making the 3 again. That's positive. That means she's going to go into the next game with that confidence back.
Right.
I mean, Audie is, Audie doing her thing. And
Literally.
Iowa didn't have any type of
any response.
No, they couldn't lock. I mean, they couldn't even touch her. Like, she got the paint and she just did what she wants. She's knows how to use her body. She has great footwork. She has to be able to not be as much of a defensive liability when she's tired. But then that also means other players have to step up and stop making as many errors. I mean, I could go down a rabbit hole, but there's good that take from that. I loved the way Iowa State started. I'm sure you
Agreed.
did. You did too. They started out with a bang. If they could have kept that and played like that for 4 quarters, it'd be an entirely different game.
I love it. It was good. It was, obviously didn't go how we wanted to, but obviously, like you said, there's so many positives that we can take from that.
I see someone mention free throws. That
too.
I'm gonna leave that at that.
I wasn't gonna bring it up because it's like what, like just simple as that. You got to make your free throws. I don't know what did you do in practice? Were you guys like, if you had a bad free throw game, was it
free throws?
And then did you have to run?
And then practice was done, and we still shot free throws. And then we shot free throws before the game. We shot free throws after the game. We made 10 in a row. Like, we fixed it.
Yeah. And that's what Iowa State's going to do, everyone. So just trust the process.
Good things to look forward to.
Good things to look forward to. Well, thanks, Chelsea. I know it's past both of our bedtimes.
Yeah.
So, hey,
these 8:00 games aren't doing it for me.
It's tough, but thanks for staying up with us. Thanks for the 3,000 people staying up with us watching the post-game show. And you can tune in tomorrow for Chris taking on Iowa men's and Iowa State men's basketball. Jeez Louise, it is past my bedtime.
Words are hard.
But yeah, Chris will take that show on. Go Cyclones. Thanks for listening.